Much to our surprise, here at the 24 Hours of Lemons, there are a lot of teams that are really well prepped. They've got big trailers, they've got giant toolboxes, they've got luxurious RVs and everything.
And then there's Dohn Jeere Racing.
Yeah, Dohn Jeere is the epitome of grassroots racing. At their debut race, famously, they didn't have a transporter, they didn't have an RV, they didn't have tables, chairs, they didn't have food. They were out there making repairs to the car like using rocks on the pavement.
So what kind of car were they fixing with these rocks? Well, it was a Volkswagen Passat diesel. These guys had been shopping for cars, and as so happened in the middle of the pandemic, pickings were a little bit slim.
Yeah, so they found a car that was partially melted by one of the California wildfires, and it turns out the resale value and demand for a partially melted car isn't super high, so despite this difficult used car market, they were able to score this Passat.
So it's a 1997 Passat TDI with almost 300,000 miles and 90 horsepower-ish if it was actually running right, and it kind of sounds like a school bus that's on the verge of running away at all times.
Now, Volkswagen TDIs of that era, to a certain extent, that sound is normal, but it turns out this particular car, the injection pump timing was off, which created even more crazy loud clacking diesel sounds, coal rolling, the whole bit. That made the car a little bit more affordable as well. Now, being an older diesel is a big benefit in California. It doesn't have to pass smog checks, which makes it a whole lot easier to register this car for the street.
This, it turns out, is pretty important when you don't have things like a garage or a yard or a trailer to get the car to the racetrack. They kind of needed to drive it to the racetrack on the street. So being able to register it, big bonus. Many well-prepared teams do things like stiffen up the suspension and do things to make the car quicker. Dohn Jeere did these things, and when we say did these things, we mean stiffen the suspension. And when we say stiffen the suspension, we mean stuffed a bunch of tennis balls into the springs. That didn't change the spring rate, not that they know how to measure those anyway, but it did make it ride higher.
Now, the one thing that they did spend a lot of time on is their excellent theme. It's got a diesel, they're thinking tractor, they put a smokestack on it, they got some green Krylon, and the Dohn Jeere theme was born, and it looks amazing.
When you're preparing your Lemons car, and you take all of the interior out of it, and you take all the sound deadening out of it, and you drive it around on the street to test it, you start thinking, man, this thing's fast. And that's what these guys thought when they had prepared it for the racing, and then they showed up, and it was not fast at all, even a little bit.
But it does get good gas mileage, and so far the mechanical issues have been relatively minor, which is good because they don't have a trailer and they have to drive this thing home.
The worst thing that's happened so far, and knock on wood, is that a high-pressure fuel hose busted, so they put a brake line in place just to limp it home. And, you know, what's the worst that's going to happen? It's a diesel. It's not going to explode.
Now, not having all of this fancy support stuff hasn't been a problem for this team. According to Anselm, the team captain, they've just had a hilariously great time racing this stupid car, even at their first race when all they had was the car, 2 bottles of water, and a bag of chips.
So, to recap, can you leave your nice stacker trailer at home?
Yes!
Can you leave your 40-foot pusher RV at home?
Yes!
Can you forego a canopy with sponsors on it?
Yes!
Can you wear one pair of underwear for the whole weekend?
Yes! Well...